I get where other people are coming from, where they only want to share certain parts of their life online, where they're super particular, where it comes off almost kind of scripted. I get it to an extent, but I also feel like that's just won't ever be me. I may get to a point where you feel like my content, oh, it's not what we originally started following you for, because like my life is going to keep changing, and I'm a normal person that changes, that shares those changes, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people are reading my aura and thinking like she's just mentally off and whack, which, I mean, who wouldn't be a little bit messed up? You know, I'm in a motel, homeless, with 5 kids, and doing everything I can to get out of this situation. So we're stimulating on a daily. I don't have a full oven, and for somebody who loves to cook, like, that's taking a little bit of myself and my person, like how I like to express myself, away from me. And you know, I want to make some biscuits when I want to. I want to make some cookies, a pie, whatever.
Oh honey, grab your tea and take a seat, because what's going down in the Jenkins household is not your average family drama. It's giving reality show chaos with none of the glam and all of the dysfunction. The internet's been buzzing lately, and at the center of it all? Stephanie Jenkins, her partner Drew, and his son Deshaun, who, let's just say, didn't ask to be cast in this never-ending TikTok soap opera. Now Stephanie, who's carved out a small space online as if the struggling mom just trying her best, is quickly losing that sympathy card. Why? Because fans are starting to question if she's really struggling, or just strategizing. Instead of shielding her kids from hard times, she's practically made their pain part of her brand. Think crying kids in the background of cleaning videos, random TikToks from a dingy motel room, and the occasional "we're just doing our best" monologue. But behind the aesthetic filters and sad music, people are starting to see the cracks. And those cracks? They're not small. Word is, Stephanie and the kids have been stuck in the same rundown motel for months. But rather than taking any opportunity to get those kids outside, she's filming their every move like it's part of some content calendar. And get this, their summer activities? Not beach trips or playground days. Try a visit to the laundromat, where Stephanie literally pushed one of her kids around in a laundry cart like it was Disneyland. And of course, she filmed it. The only other time those poor kids saw sunlight was when Deshaun, Drew's son from a previous relationship, had a mandatory visit with his biological mom, Desiree. Drew tagged the rest of the kids along to a park that day, but let's be clear, it wasn't a fun family outing. It was just easier than leaving them behind. One quick trip to the park and then it was back to motel life, 4 walls, and more day in the life videos with the kids as unpaid extras. Stephanie's excuses? Oh, they're as endless as her content. She told followers she couldn't take the kids anywhere because it's too expensive, or they don't have a big enough car. But baby, come on. Everyone knows there are free splash pads, community centers, library events, even local fairs. Truth is, she just didn't want to. And now the fans who once sent her gifts and encouraging comments are starting to turn, calling out the lack of effort and the way her content always seems to feature the same sad setup, cramped space, exhausted kids, and her explaining why she can't do anything different. And poor Deshaun? That boy is caught in the middle of this circus. He didn't sign up for this, none of them did, but as Drew stays silent, it's becoming clear he's either blind to the damage or just too deep into Stephanie's world to pull away. Deshaun's summer? Not bike rides and popsicles. He spent it in a motel room being filmed, his every moment recorded for people who don't even know his name but definitely know his business. Now school's creeping back around, and while most kids are excited to swap summer stories, Stephanie's kids have nothing to share except maybe a viral moment from the laundromat. And let's not pretend kids don't notice. Their classmates will see those TikToks. They'll talk. They'll laugh. And sadly, they'll bully, because that's the reality when your life becomes public content without your consent. Meanwhile, Stephanie keeps posting, completely unfazed. Another day, another video, another voiceover about how hard life is, while the kids, silent and squished into frame, just sit there. It's not raw. It's not inspiring. It's just heartbreaking. And viewers are finally waking up to it. What happens next? Who knows? Maybe Drew will step in and do right by his son. Maybe the internet will turn so hard that Stephanie has to log off. Or maybe, and this is the real fear, nothing will change, and those kids will continue to grow up in front of a camera lens instead of out in the real world, making real memories. There's something silently brutal about growing up with no say in how the world views you, not because of something you did, but because of what your parent chose to share. Stephanie Jenkins' children are living a life that's not just difficult, it's publicly difficult. And not in a documentary, advocacy kind of way. This is content. Clickable, scrollable, comment-worthy content. They've been filmed crying. They've been filmed sleeping on motel floors. They've been filmed eating on the edge of beds surrounded by laundry and clutter, not once. Not by accident. But consistently, over time, edited and uploaded, not for their own memory box, but for an audience of strangers. And this is where it hits the hardest, these kids never agreed to any of it. They weren't asked if they wanted to be seen. They weren't offered the choice to have privacy or dignity. They were simply handed over to the feed, faces lit up by the soft glow of a ring light, their personal lives turned into viral clips. Not because they had a message to share, but because their mother needed something to post. And, yeah, for a moment it looked like Stephanie might shift direction. She spoke about growth. Her voice softened in her videos. Her captions got poetic. She posted about inner work, about peace, about shedding the past. It sounded like a woman trying to transform. And people, bless them, believed her. They held on, waiting for the glow up, hoping they'd witness a mother rebuilding not just her life, but her children's. Because let's be real, the early story had all the elements of a powerful turnaround, a struggling mom, a family trying to stay together, hardship, but heart. There was something so raw about it that people were drawn in, thinking, she just needs support. She just needs one break. She just needs someone to believe in her, and many did. Donations came in. Comments overflowed with love and encouragement. Viewers stuck around, not because the content was flashy, but because they wanted to see her win. They imagined Stephanie finding a stable apartment, putting real beds in the kids' rooms, hanging curtains, putting up a calendar, building structure where there had only been survival. That's what they rooted for. But instead of climbing forward, Stephanie sank further into the one thing that kept the attention going, the chaos. When she moved from a cramped apartment to a motel, people were stunned. It was smaller. Tighter. Less safe. And yet, more visible than ever. The videos didn't stop, they increased. The cleaning routines continued, the morning wake-ups, the tearful updates. But nothing changed. Nothing evolved. No job updates. No new housing applications. No budgeting tips. No visits to resources. Just the same cycle, wake up, film, repeat, and eventually, the audience caught on. The ones who stayed for the healing journey started to quietly unfollow. The engagement slowed. The support dried up. Because they weren't watching someone heal, they were watching someone stall. Over and over again. And when the content stopped working, when the views dropped, Stephanie didn't pivot. She didn't choose privacy. She didn't protect her children, she simply used them more. She began implying she was out of content, like her life had no other direction. But that was never true. There were countless stories she could have told, real, raw, relatable stories. She could have documented the messy reality of trying to get back into the workforce. She could have shown us the stress of sending resumes, the hope of a second interview, the joy of landing a shift job. She could have taken us with her as she toured low-income housing, or asked questions at the shelter. She could have shared what it's like to stretch a grocery budget for 6, or to decorate a small space to make it feel like home. She could have made content with purpose, content that inspired, that educated, that gave people a sense of progress and pride. Instead, she defaulted to the shortcut. She turned the camera back on her children, not for joy. Not for milestones. Just for presence. Just to fill the gap. And here's where it cuts the deepest. Because this isn't just about TikToks and algorithms. It's about kids who will one day walk into a classroom where everyone's already seen their home life. Kids who might be laughed at for having no bed. Mocked for being filmed while crying. Kids who will have to navigate friendships, first crushes, school dances, and growing up, with the internet already knowing more about them than they'd ever want to share. Stephanie didn't just break the boundary between public and private. She erased it completely. These kids don't have a digital footprint, they have a digital timeline of trauma. And they didn't get to opt in. And one day, when they're old enough to understand what was taken from them, their choice, their privacy, their safe space, what happens then? How do you explain to your child that their worst moments were never protected, because they made it good content? How do you justify turning their pain into profit, their faces into thumbnails? And just when you think it can't get any more calculated, Stephanie takes things to an even darker level. She's no longer just dabbling in soft manipulation, she's perfecting the art of performance parenting. Every tear-stained clip, every shaky voiceover from her daughters, every shaky camera pan over cluttered motel rooms and emotional outbursts, it's all part of a narrative. But not one rooted in truth, it's curated chaos. Heartbreak with lighting filters and background music. She's turned crisis into content. And her kids. They're not just collateral damage, they're co-stars, whether they want to be or not. Viewers have noticed how every wave of public criticism is met with a suspiciously timed emotional upload. A voice memo from one child. A homemade meal for another. A cleaned-up toy, a vague apology hidden behind a child's narration, never from Stephanie directly. It's like clockwork. After the backlash around blocking Deshaun's visits with his biological mom, you'd think she'd pause and self-reflect. Instead, she leaned harder into damage control, her version of it anyway. She posted another emotionally loaded video, this time narrated in a sing-song tone by her daughter, trying to paint herself as this overwhelmed yet selfless mom doing the best she can.
Thinking about the Resilient Jenkins newest video where they let Addie, their 10-year-old daughter, narrate in the video, it's giving them showing the Resilient Jenkins basically saying, well, Deshaun, I'm sorry, you can't be part of the videos because your mom X, Y, and Z. Like, why is that coming to my head? Why is that something that I'm thinking that Stephanie Jenkins is holding above Deshaun's head? Like, because of your mom, we can't put you in our videos. We can't have you narrate it, right? Like, also, why would you think it'd be okay to let your daughter do this narration when your comments, if you read through the comments on the Resilient Jenkins TikTok, they're almost all negative. Like, why would you let subject your daughter to that? It really is giving, I'm trying to make money, stay relevant, and I'm trying to just explore as many alleys and avenues as I can. Also, you lied. You lied. You lied. You lied. You were not SA'd. Your privacy was invaded, and liar. Stephanie Jenkins is a liar.
But the public isn't dumb. They've started to connect the dots. Every time Stephanie's actions come under fire, suddenly a child is pulled into the spotlight to act as a human shield. And the teddy bear incident? That was next level. Stephanie filmed herself scrubbing a moldy, borderline biohazard of a stuffed animal, claiming it was her baby's favorite toy and she cleans it religiously. But the clip reeked of performance. The bear looked like it hadn't seen soap since 2023, and oddly, it had never made a cameo in any of the dozens of previous videos. Where did this bear suddenly come from? And more importantly, why was her daughter once again narrating the clip, like a tiny spokesperson drafted into her mother's defense team?
Stephanie Jenkins, why are you lying, saying that Atlas always has that little bear right there that you washed? This is like one of the first times I've ever seen him with it. But like I was saying, to be this filthy and disgusting, you would think that Bubba has the little teddy bear like permanently attached. Like you would think that he is pretend this is the teddy bear, dragging this around all the time. But he's not. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen it since just recently. But we're going to do a cute little voiceover with your daughter, basically trying to say that he has it all the time and you're being a good mom cleaning it for him. I've noticed she's really pushing this I'm a good mom narrative, making natural, I do this because she doesn't, whatever, making natural baby food. And now she's showing how she's always hanging out with their kids in the sense of like, oh, I want to clean this teddy bear, I want to do this. Girl, who are you fooling? You are just mad that Deshaun went to go see his mom. Like, go ahead.
It's not storytelling, babe, it's strategy. Her content has evolved from documenting motherhood to monetizing misery. The more pitiful the situation, the higher the views. The lower they sink, the more her comment section floods with, "You're such a strong mom, we're praying for you," and "Your kids are lucky to have you." And every comment is fuel. It's not about getting better. It's about keeping the chaos fresh and the sympathy pouring in. Even the baby food videos, soft pastels and all, were nothing more than another aesthetic bandage slapped over a gaping wound. Viewers weren't fooled. They saw the disconnect between her pretending to be a mindful, organic supermom and the reality of her children bouncing from one unstable space to another. You can't puree your way out of neglect. And people are starting to say it out loud. And yet, in spite of everything, the outcry, the criticism, the mounting red flags, Stephanie isn't slowing down. If anything, she's accelerating. She's not taking a step back from broadcasting her kids, she's finding new ways to spotlight them, fresh angles to reel people in. Every day brings a new storyline, a new emotional hook, a new version of motherhood tailor-made for TikTok. But beneath the soft lighting and sentimental voiceovers, one thing hasn't changed: her children are still living in chaos. Nothing about their reality has improved. The same cramped, unstable space. The same tension, the same uncertainty. It's just been rebranded. The instability now comes with a soothing soundtrack and a carefully chosen filter. Behind every thumbnail that makes you say, "Aww," is a child quietly navigating dysfunction. The smiles might look convincing, but they're covering up a life where survival has become performance. This isn't parenting, it's packaging. And the worst part? It's working. The views keep climbing, the comments keep pouring in, and the hearts just keep lighting up. Some viewers think they're helping, offering words of encouragement or prayers. But every like, every follow, every time someone hits share, it feeds the beast. It keeps the content coming. And whether they realize it or not, it sends the message that pain is profitable, as long as it's edited well. And so, the kids stay trapped. Not just in poverty, but in public poverty. They're not just growing up struggling, they're growing up on display. Their hardships are no longer private moments, they're episodes. Their suffering is content. Their silence? Just part of the aesthetic. Every motel night, every tear, every breakdown, packaged up neatly and served to strangers on a silver algorithm. And Stephanie? She's not apologizing, she's not pausing. She's pressing record. Which begs the question, what exactly are we watching? A desperate mom doing the best she can with the only platform she knows? Or a woman who has learned how to spin struggle into social currency? Is this content a cry for help, or a strategy? At what point do we call it what it is, exploitation? When do we stop calling it real life and start acknowledging it as emotional labor being forced onto children who never consented to this spotlight? This is where we come in. Because silence enables this. Every time we scroll past without speaking up, we're giving it a green light. So drop your thoughts in the comments, your concern, your questions, your honest outrage. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you believe in protecting children from being turned into content, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, stay tuned, and keep the conversation going. If you found this as wild and heartbreaking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because these stories need to be talked about. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your empathy louder than the algorithm.